There you go. Finally. Okay. That took a while. So sorry. But no, thank you for coming. And thank you for taking time out of your day to
You're, you're very
answer
well.
the questions. So yeah, let's get started. First thing I wanted to talk about was that you have a lot of experience in the basketball field. You know, you played basketball and then you went on to become a coach. What was the transition like from you becoming a player to coaching? How was that like?
You know, it's I've been blessed. I'm not gonna lie. I've been doing this since I was 4 years old.
Oof, okay.
Some of the greats. I've played with a lot of people that have played in the NBA. I just saw on the recruiting trail my old teammate when we were 3 and 4 years old, and so it's been like 50 years since we've seen each other over the years, but it's 50 years. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
he's one of the big AAU guys, and I'm collegiate professional coach. So it was great to catch up, tell stories. But, we've had great paths because we grew up in the inner city of Cleveland, Ohio together. We both were successful. I had a great college experience, Hall of Fame, played professionally in Europe. And then, like you said, that transition, it was kind of one of those things. I knew that I had more longevity if I transitioned into the coaching world than playing. And it wasn't that. I mean,
Hmm.
I was a really good player, um, but I wanted to give back to the game, if that makes sense. I was very high intelligent or very high IQ of the game, a very student of the game, and so I just knew that if I could teach people to think the way I thought and to see the game the way I see it and be passionate about what they do, that that could transcend and actually grow the game or grow it at different or various levels.
Hmm. Okay. That's good. What's one thing that you've realized was kind of different, like as a player, you realized was different as a coach? Like, what's something that stood out to you about being a coach than a player?
Well, early on, I don't think there was as much. I think it changes more today. I
Hmm.
don't think the student athletes or the athletes are as passionate and dedicated as we were. I mean, you have to understand, we grew up on the streets. We didn't have much, I mean, basically, if we had a basketball, if we had a glove and a baseball, that was what we did for fun. We didn't sit there and play on our phones. We didn't, get bogged down in gaming and the computers. We literally played till the lights came on the park, you know what I mean? Or till the lights went off. And that's unique. You don't see that today. If you go by most parks, they're empty. So you don't see the pickup games. I mean, when we would play pickup games, it'd be 30, 40 people, and you didn't want to lose because if you lost, you were sitting 2, 3, 4 games. You know what I mean? Before you'd
Yeah.
get back on the floor. And so it was highly competitive. So I don't think it's quite the same. Again, I was blessed. I had some tremendous coaches, in the inner city and coming up. And I feel it's more watered down. There's a lot of coaches out there, but there are not as many great coaches, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And
That
and
makes sense.
and so it's kind of hard. Like when you go to AAU events, you can tell who are the really good programs because they have really great coaching. And at the high school level, again, you can tell because there's just something about them. And then there's something about those kids. And I think that's what it gravitates me is I want to find those kinds of kids. I want to find the ones that come from good roots, good grassroots, good coaching at the younger stages or at the middle phases because not that it makes my job easier. What it does is it enables me to take it to a whole nother level
Hmm.
or them to a whole nother level of playing, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. So when you are looking at these kids that come into your program, what qualities are you looking for?
I look for a lot of intangibles. Believe it or not, I recruit their parents and the people that are around them. I mean, I'm watching them more when they're off the court, meaning how do they interact with their moms and dads, or how do they interact with other people, or how do they behave? They yelling and screaming at officials, giving body gestures back to the coaches. I look at a lot of those things. I mean, for me, the most important intangible, as I always say, is, do you have a motor? If they have a high motor, they may lack some skills, but I can teach them those skills. I can't put my heart in their chest. You know what I'm saying? I can't
Yeah.
put my brain in their head, and so that's what's hard. So their motor has to be a high motor. They have to want to work. They have to be passionate about it, and it's all the little things, diving on the floor, doing all the dirty work. And I mean, yeah, you have to be able to have some skills and do some things, but those are certain things I specifically look for. And then I always say the A&E, attitude, effort. Those are two things as a coach we cannot control. I can motivate you till the cows come home, but I cannot control your attitude and your effort, how you respond to situations. So it's always nice when you see kids that have great attitudes and great effort, because a lot of times you can teach them the things to develop a high IQ. You can teach them the skill sets that they need to succeed at the next levels, wherever it is. So, those would be the things that I look for the most.
Mm, okay, that's good. I mean, I do know I've seen your stacked resume, and I know like you've been in this field for a long time. But like have you seen any changes within the players through the years, like skill wise, motor wise? I mean, I know you said like some there's not really that like like that power to actually win and like compete as much since every like students are now on their phones. But what have you seen throughout your
Well,
years?
I'm gonna tell you. I think what you have seen is what I was talking about before. You see really good kids or teams in really great programs, and a lot of that comes to those trainers, whether it's those AAU programs or those high school coaches that pay attention to the details. These details matter. Okay, the game is a battle of inches. So the more inches you're winning, you're shrinking the distance. When you're shrinking the distance, you tend to have a lot more success, luck, you want to call it what it is, opportunity. But those things I think really matter. To get back to what you're saying, I think I don't think kids value it as much. I don't think the competition is as what it is. Meaning they play so many games. Like when I grew up, we played multiple sports, so we changed. So we played basketball, then we went to baseball, or baseball
Mhm.
into football, and I really think that made me as great of a player because I was talented in just about any sport. I can pick up any sport or pick up the skills of it very fast. And I think you become more dynamic because you're doing a lot of different things. I think today we've kind of forced the issue to make kids only play this or this or this. And I think kids have gotten less dynamic. And I think that's why, if you look at it, I think the international game has a lot more fundamentally skilled kids or players than the American side. The American side has a lot of very talented athletic kids. But when you look at their skill sets, you compare apples to apples, there's no comparison. I mean, European kids, Australian kids, African kids, their skill sets are far superior than, let's say, a lot of kids here because they pay more attention to the details. They play less games and they train in different ways. And they also incorporate a lot of understanding of the body, the mind, the body. And so I think me having the experiences that I've had, I've been blessed because I can take parts of both worlds. I can take all the contacts that I have on 6 continents, in almost over 100 countries, all 50 states, and use those as a great value, especially to NCCU and our institution.
That's good. That's a great take. So when you are like evaluating players and stuff like that, what how do you like separate Division 1 athletes from Division 2, 3, and potentially JUCO?
Well, and it's funny that you say that. I've recruited on all levels.
I know,
Basically,
yeah.
I recruit the same types of kids. I don't look at the level. Okay. What I'm looking for is that right kid. Remember, I told you, the certain intangibles. So it doesn't matter. That kid, 9 times out of 10, um, if I recruited her when I was at the Division 3, she could have played Division 1. I'll give you a perfect example. A young lady by the name of Bria Medina, who I recruited when I was at Knox,
Hmm.
okay, um, who had a stellar career at Knox, just now transferred to the University of Iowa and is going to play for Jan Jensen next or this season. So you see, I was spot on with that kid. I was spot on. Her
Wow.
cousins before that and all the other teammates that played for us at Knox were highly talented, just like the kids that I recruited and coached at Lewisburg College. That went on to play either for Pat Summit at Tennessee or Dawn Staley at South Carolina or Western Carolina or High Point or opportunity possibly at Oregon State when Scott Ruick had his Final Four team. I mean, so there's just so many different variables out there. Um, and it's just it gets back to the first thing I said. I've been completely blessed. You cannot have the experiences and do the things that I've done without being blessed by the man upstairs. And first and foremost, I got to give all my credit to him and putting the people that he has put in my life to maneuver and make my way and path, which has been a wild experience, all over the world, men's, women's, every level other than the NBA and WNBA. So, I mean, all I can keep doing is just keep giving him the glory and keep giving him my grateful thanks.
Good, good, good. Speaking of Dawn Staley, you're actually coaching alongside Coach Gaines, who you won a national championship with. Like, I just wanted to ask, like, how do you feel about that? Like, does it feel like a full circle moment just being able to like
Oh,
coach?
it's extremely humbling and surreal. Okay, I mean, what people don't understand. I mean, I've coached thousands and thousands of players, and that's no exaggeration. I've coached some of the best in the world, and she is one of the best that I ever coached. I have never had, and I can't say her, but that kid worked harder than anybody I can possibly imagine. And to see her what she developed as a player, where she started, where she became with me, then what she ended up going and then doing with Dawn. And then what people don't realize, I had a big impact in her life, in her development, but also I had an impact. She started coaching. Her first coaching experience, she worked for me coaching. So I got her into the business, but she wasn't going to go into the business. And now she's been highly successful. And so when you say full circle moment, oh, most definitely. Because like when the call happened, there's like, there's a lot of people you work for or work with, but she is somebody I've always had the utmost respect because she earned my respect. Okay. I always tell people respect is not given, respect is earned. And she earned it from day one when I coached her to everything that she's done in her career and her life. And I mean, I kind of feel like a proud father figure. I mean, I am kind of like a father to her. She has her mom and her dad, and they are wonderful people. But, I'm kind of like a second dad to her. And, I couldn't be more proud of my kid.
When you got the call, you were still coaching. Were you coaching in Maryland prior, right?
I I was up in Pennsylvania. I was up in
Pennsylvania, and you got the call, and you were just like, yeah, was it like immediately, yes, let's go to North Carolina, or was it like
well,
a little
well,
hesitation?
there's always time frames and situations with everything. But it was a no brainer. I said, yeah. When she asked, would if this happens, would you help be a part of it? I said, when do I leave? You know what I'm saying? When do you need me? That was the first responses, and it's like it's kind of like I said, that's very very humbling and surreal because it was like, you know what? again, it's a full circle moment. You're like, you do so many different things, and then you see this and this opportunity. All I want is this kid to succeed. All I want is the very best because that's all she's ever given to me in all the years I've known her. Whether she was a player for me or whether she worked for me as a coach, she gave it her all and turned everything into a success. And that's why she's been successful. And all I want to do is return the favor and give her the best that I can give her. You know what I'm saying? I mean, some of us dinosaurs out here, as I call it. I said, I think she brought me back. I said, I don't know, am I a T-Rex or am I a raptor? Am I coming from the Mesozoic or the Paleozoic? So, but we just laugh about it.
That's super cool. That's super cool. Ah, okay. That's super cool. Because I've been tracking like Central and like a couple other like colleges in the circle, and when I seen like you pop up like on the roster, I was like, wait a minute, no way, no way. So yeah, that was pretty fun to like read and just like see, yeah, firsthand. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about is that like, yeah, I know like you've had experience coaching, but you also are kind of in that period where like the transfer portal is like becoming pretty dominant. Like, how do you feel about coaches utilizing the transfer portal, players utilizing the transfer portal, and just overall your thoughts about the transfer portal as a whole?
Well, I mean, I think here's the problem. Um, Rules are put in place to try to keep people honest. But the problem is pirates will always be pirates. I always say that. Okay. So you're always going to have people who are going to bend rules, break rules, things like that. It's inevitable. It's just life. It's called the human nature. Okay. What you have to really look down at is your moral compass. And I feel that there's a lot of situations that happen, that the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think the transfer portal can be a good tool, but it also can be a harmful tool. And it's again how it's used appropriately or not. I'll give you an example. Gonzaga's men's basketball has been using the transfer portal for a long time, believe it or not, even I think prior to the actual transfer portal. And what I meant by that is they were getting a lot of, as I call, kids that would finish early, let's say at another institution, and then they would transfer and play a year or two because they graduated earlier on time or whatever. And they've always, Mark Few has always put together championship caliber programs. And he's done it in a way that's respected. You know what I mean? Because he is one of the highly most respected, coaches out there. And when you look at things like that, that's how you utilize it or use it in a positive manner. There's others that can use it in a negative manner, or parents or kids can use it in a manner. Because I mean, think about it. If a kid changes schools 3, 4, 5 times, what's that say about loyalty? What's that say about, are they in it for the team? Or are they in it for themselves? You see, I'm in the business of building cultures and teams, championship cultures. Well, when you build championship cultures, you've got to do things the right way. Okay, I mean, that's just the way it is. Perfect example. I use Corey Close this year on the women's side. Corey, you know, working and plugging along with her and her staff out at UCLA, building up program, and then they finally get to a Final Four a year ago, and then this year they win the national championship. So the fruits of their labor. Sometimes it doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes it takes time. It's a process. I think one of the biggest success stories when you think about Tony Bennett when he was at Virginia. Okay, he was like the number one seed going in the tournament. They're playing the number 16 team, UMBC, I think it was, and they get upset. And that shouldn't have happened, and everybody blah, 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 and this, that, and the other, how people talk. But what Tony did was he had a heart to heart. He knew those kids were hurting. He really cared and was vested in the institution and the program, and said, look, how you handle this adversity is going to tell tales of how you're going to handle life. And then the next year they come back and win the national championship. So you see what I'm saying? I mean, everything in our life tells a story, and bumps in the road are usually challenges by God to see which way are we going to go in the fork in the road. Are we going to take the high path? or are we going to take, and the high path means the road less traveled, or are we going to take the path that everybody's taking and cut corners and do this? And if we do that, well, some good things might happen, but a lot of bad things happen. So, you know, I like the build. And so, like I was saying with the culture thing, when you're building cultures, it takes time. The transfer portal again is a valuable tool, or it's a weapon, and it depends on who's using that tool and how they're using it is how effective they're going to be with it. And I've got ideas now moving into the future with it, which I'm not going to share. Hopefully, I'll just be able to use. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But to positively impact players' families, institution, our staff, different things like that. Because if you can navigate those waters correctly, you can do a lot of good with it.
That's good. Do you think player retention is like important for a program to like succeed in the future for their
I
seasons or
I I think it is. I mean, I think there's going to be teams that it's going to be the one hit wonder stuff. I mean,
Mhm.
for an example, look at Michigan. Dusty May did a hell of a job with. I mean, did a great job down there in Florida Atlantic. Then comes up to Michigan, does the same thing. Now he's an NBA coach. So there are successes with it. But I also think retention does play a good because I also feel that you can build more of those team cultures. Jay Wright, look at what Jay Wright did at Villanova. Jay Wright built a dynasty. If you look at it right now, the New York Knicks are a dynasty part and part because of Jay Wright and those other pieces that are around Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, you know what I mean? But those are Villanova kids that won one or two national championships. But because they learned what building a culture was all about. They learned the value of that team and being loyal to each other. So, you know, I think both sides can succeed. If it was me, I prefer the building the culture and doing it and trying to retain. But I'm also never going to hold somebody back, especially if I know it's going to put them in a positive. And if they've done everything that the program has asked, we've asked them to do in the program, you never hold them back. You know what I'm saying? Because, at the end of the day, again, that's one of those crossroads they come to, and they got to decide which way on the path that they need to go at that moment in time.
Mm, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I don't have any more questions. You did very, very good. You actually gave me a lot of stuff. So thank you. Um yeah,
Well, I
you
hope it
great.
benefit. I hope it was useful.
Yes, it is very useful, actually, very useful. Um
What so now you fill me in? What are you doing with the content or stuff? Am I going to be on a milk carton or am I going to be on
no, you're not gonna be on a milk carton.
the next news thing?
I have a database. I'm working on my grad project, which I might potentially sell to a company possibly in the near future. Having some like back and forth now, but it's a database called Gen Index Media, and it's pretty much like an analytical database, and it analyzes basketball programs in the Carolinas, and it pretty much like grades and pretty much breakdowns the transfer portal, but only players in the Carolinas. And so this interview would pretty much just help like push like what coaches are looking for and like how they like scout or recruit players. And then of course I like to like make like personal connections with the coaches. So that's why I ask you more personal questions, just to one get to like know who you are as a person and stuff like that.
Well, I'm always trying to grow the game, but to be honest with you, I'm kind of what I call old school or unorthodox. So I think it lot differently than most people. I really think things out of the box. You know, 99% of the world is doing the thing. I'm probably doing the 1%. You know what I mean? And why is I've been successful. Had a recipe or a formula that works. Been doing it for over 30 years. It worked as a player. I've learned from some of the best in the world. Some of the best have been my mentors guiding me through it, whether it's on the men's or women's side or professional level. And, when you learn those things, I mean, that kind of gets ingrained in your DNA or, who you are. I always say, reputation is what people say you are, character is who you are. And when your character matters, and so remember, people will always remember how you made them feel. They
Yeah.
will always remember that. They will always remember how you made them feel. The great Maya Angelou, had a wonderful quote. I can't quote it word for word, but she was fantastic. She is somebody that truly has influenced a lot of lives and still does. And, but that impact, that footprint, if you think about it, it's a footprint in the sand or it's a footprint in somebody's life that, you know, when I think about this game, I think of how blessed I am, the thousands of people that I have been able to interact with and bless their lives. You know what I'm saying? And take information from them or plant seeds in them that have grown, you know what I mean? And to see that. And you may not win a championship with them, but all of a sudden you see how they've grown as a person, as an adult, or as a Christian, or as a coach, or as a player, or as a CEO. And that's the true reward, is the impact that you have in those lives. Were you impacting people in a positive way, or were you just impacting them in a negative way, or just using them for to play? You know what I mean? I don't look at it like that. It's a bigger thing than the game of basketball. It's called the game of life.
Noted. Noted.
Thinking there, your wheels are
Yeah.
turning. I wonder what they're like. Either I need this guy to shut up or what. So
No, like I mean, I don't really have like a bunch of like mentors in my corner, just like, my um family. So like they've been telling me like the same thing, but I guess yours is like more like in depth. They're just like, this is life. This is life. How do you want your life to go is based off of you. And I'm just like, you're right. You're right. But I'm still fairly young, but yeah.
that's the thing. That's the thing. I think I do a lot of mentorship, a lot of coaching, players, even at other places throughout the country. And I do a lot with the WBCA, a lot of things with Athletes in Action, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Nations of Coaches, FIBA. So by doing all those things and being active, again, I'm trying to plant footprints or good seeds wherever I go. When I go different places in the world, same thing, and the reasons why is, remember, people remember that first impression. So if you can make a good first impression, and I'm not saying, it's an act or, what you see is what you get. What you've heard today from me, you and I have never met. We really haven't talked. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
this is who I am. If you saw me in person or if you met me on the street, this is how I am. This is who I am. You know, you know, you got to be real. And I think that's what people miss. They're fake, phony, whatever. It's a game, it's an act. There's no acting. You know what I'm saying? This is what you get. And, it's like that's the expectation. I expect you to be real and genuine as well.
Yes, sir. That's good.
Have anything else?
I think I'm good on questions now, unless you have any questions for me.
I mean, I just was curious kind of where you're going to use it and where it was going. So
Oh, it'll go on like Instagram, and then it'll go like on like a brief like a website, like well on the main website. Yeah,
send me. I'd love to see everything.
I will definitely send it to you. Yeah.
Appreciate that. Just make sure you stay in touch. If you need something else, you feel free.
Yes, sir. Will do. Yeah, sounds good.
If we're ever in the area, stop by the office or
Oh, I
whatever.
come to at least like 3 games like a season, regardless. So you know.
Come up and you make personal introduction, okay? When you do.
Yes, sir. Sounds good.
Fair deal?
Fair
Okay.
deal. Yeah. Thank you.
Great evening and thank you again and stay blessed, okay?
Thank you, and you do the same.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Bye-bye.